Hey, what's up everybody? It's me, Danae, and I'm here with a message for you. Let's see what we got on the bottom of the deck. Hope you're doing well. By the way, oh my goodness, the Ace of Cups. I swear I didn't look at the bottom. I just cut the deck and here we are. Well, this is wonderful. Ace of Cups is like an overflow of love and emotional fulfillment, inspiration of the spiritual nature. It's a gift of the divine. In a practical sense, it could even signify a baby or pregnancy. So if you're out there, you know, in this Leo season, this heightened energy of since what's the word, pleasure, fifth house, definitely protect yourself if you don't want a baby. But yes, it could also mean even a new project as well, so it doesn't necessarily have to be a physical being that's being born, but or that is emerging. It just could be the promise of just something new and fresh and new life in general that's going to bring an overflow of fulfillment, or perhaps you're already experiencing an overflow of love and satisfaction, and spiritual splendor is the term that comes to mind just now. And I've never used that before, but I love it, so you'll probably hear it again. Spiritual splendor is here with the Ace of Cups. So let's see what we got. Let me move up a little bit. All right. Then we got the Queen of Pentacles under there and the Justice card. Okay, Spirit, you just wanted to make sure I saw that, huh? Well, all right. Noted, noted. So I guess it's safe to say that it's not just fulfillment of the spiritual nature or the emotional nature, but there's also going to be some material satisfaction with that gift. Maybe it's just something that's just going to make you so happy. A lot of money would make me happy. That would be thrilling at this time. All right, so we got the Five of Swords. I believe that was the first card out from my memory. And then we got the Ten of Cups, which is also more splendor of the spiritual nature, which this has been coming out a lot lately. The Ten of Cups, it's come out at least in my last 3 readings specifically, but it's been an energy that's definitely been prevalent about just family life. And you know, the Ten of Cups, if I haven't said it before or said it enough at this point, is about it's about wish fulfillment of your heart's desires. You know, it's about being fulfilled, of course, in a spiritual sense, but also with the idea of what is the most fantastical expression of your life force. So it doesn't have to necessarily be a partnership or even a family or, you know, love even per se. It's just that thing, that essence of life that makes you feel whole and complete. You being that personally, and also doing those things that make you feel that way, and receiving the return or reward on your investments that ultimately just magnify that experience and that expression. So it's just a continuous cycle of happily ever after, but in a way that is most specific and unique to you, what makes you feel. It doesn't have to be the wife, the kids, the dog, the house, the car type of thing. It could be something very simple. It could be something very grand, but it's just feeling fulfilled. It's a feeling of fulfillment, and there being not much left to be desired in your life. But in a sense, also still having a, you know, an ideal of future prosperity too, and a projection of a future. So it's not like, you know, this is it, this is all we have, this is good enough. It, like I said, it's the spirit of fulfillment, so that that energy just continues to breed more inspiration to expand more, so that this terrain is ultimately infinite. You know, it's not limited at all, because you have the inspiration and the evidence of your energetic investments enough enough for that to fuel future projections, you know. So it doesn't just stop there, it just continues to grow. I just felt like I needed to say that. But then we got the five of swords. Okay, we got the Five of Swords. So what can we say about the Five of Swords? This is somebody with this Four of Pentacles that's just, I can't even read it in a high vibration, because there's not much that is high vibrational in this energy, in this frequency, about the Five of Swords. It's a card of someone that is determined to be an obstruction, to be destructive, to be a distraction, that's holding on to some essence of material security, that's maybe being overly conservative about resources and time and energy in a way that almost can become, it's like borderlines obsession a bit. With the Four of Pentacles, you just never quite know it. On the upside, it could be just being conservative and reserving your energy, your time, you know, maybe saving money, watching what you spend. But in the lower vibration, especially connected to the Five of Swords, to me, it's much more, you know, derogatory than that, where you're just obsessed with the money that you earn, or perhaps you're in a position where you feel the need to be obsessive about saving and conserving for some with some like projection of poverty on the horizon, whether it is truly, you know, there's evidence for it, or whether that's just like the state of mind, you know. So that's why I said it like borderline scarcity in a sense, because, you know, you shouldn't be that dependent on money wholeheartedly. You know, there are other things to be thoughtful of, you know, and when that starts to be your number one focus, you're throwing your energy, your spiritual self off balance, you know. But anyway, so then we got the Five of Swords, which again, that's fueled by jealousy, envy. There's like corruption in that card. In a sense, it's someone that's determined to win at all costs, no matter what the casualties, no matter at what expense, at whose expense. But what the energy I'm really picking up is the jealousy aspect, especially in contrast with the Ten of Cups, because the Ten of Cups is a card that would absolutely incite some external projections of jealousy perhaps and envy, because it's a magnitude of happiness and fulfillment that we all more or less, you know, aspire to as human beings. We all aspire to be completely, you know, satisfied in the life that we're living. But the difference is so in what we're willing to do. Now it's connecting what we're willing to do and what we're most focused and fixated on in order to achieve that status of happiness and fulfillment. So everybody has their menu of choices, you know, to get there. It's available to all, you know, it's definitely available to all. And I feel we're divinely invited to aspire to this experience of happiness, you know, in every holistic way possible. It's just that the road that leads to there, especially by way of this earth realm that we all are a part of, can sometimes be jaded with some very unfavorable, just some unfavorable intentions, you know. In this case, you know how the saying to me is coming up, the road to, what is it, the road to hell? Or is it the road to heaven? I think it's the road to hell is paved with good intentions, something like that. The road to heaven, sometimes we can take a detour and find ourselves in you know, enamored by some poor intentions, or our good intentions can be swayed and influenced to make bad decisions just on the simply on the strength of obsession with this end result, this finish line of a happily ever after. And sometimes the the world can project to us shortcuts, and we can look around and see others taking shortcuts and be inspired by those possibilities, that potential of maybe taking a fast track to this vibration. And fast track in the sense that it's a detour from what's divined on your path specifically and individually, because some are very much divine to take a fast track to wealth and prosperity and happiness. It's, we all have different, we all have different destinies here, but however it is that the choices that are being made along that path is what makes the difference as to how you finish, or, at least arrive at that destination, So this is speaking to me about just the disparity of choices to get to that place. And my first instinct is usually right on the vibration of the cards, that this is someone that's idealizing material gain and wealth and abundance much more than they are spiritual fulfillment. With the 10, this is the whole of the pie. This is just the portion, but it's the most immediately gratifying piece of the pie, especially in terms of what society projects to us as a matter of success and stability and security and things of that nature. So when you're faced with this opportunity to have it in a microwave, at a microwave magnitude, as opposed to perhaps the oven, the slow cooker, maybe even perhaps, sometimes you can get caught up in psychological traps, set by the adverse energy, but most importantly that we intentionally, or I should say voluntarily, align with, accept, and co-create in. And that leads to this energy here, which with the 5 of Swords, yes, the intention, the baseline is someone that is just overly obsessive or attentive to someone else's win or someone else's progress, and that's ultimately what envy and jealousy is. Well, jealousy is more so wanting something else that, wanting something that someone has, or, idolizing something that someone has. Envy is more so believing that it should be yours as opposed to theirs. It's kind of like an even darker spirit to possess. And it could be either one of those. It could start off as jealousy, someone that's just looking at other people's gifts or opportunities, or even their relationships, their possibilities ultimately is what someone idolizes. And first it becomes a wow, it's an admiration at first, in the most in the most innocent form, but then that admiration, when it's not connected to a self-awareness and a self-appreciation, can easily become jealousy and then easily spiral into envy, where now it is that you feel a type of way because you see something that someone else has, and instead of being happy for them or inspired to acquire it your own way or acquire your own version of it, now you even go deeper and start to feel like, you know what, that should be mine altogether. And so then you start to act out in ways, or at least your mind, because the sword energy is more so mental, your mind starts to kind of like strategize ways that you can be, like I said, an obstruction or in resistance or a distraction to ultimately what you admire, what you would want to have. So really just is a call for a shift in perspective, especially from this point with the 4 of Pentacles, and just realizing that it's not all about the material, it's all the spiritual aspect is the fast track to any material wealth, first and foremost, even if it feels like it's taking a long time or it's moving too slow, it's the most sustainable route one could possibly take. Okay. You know, because you know, once if you've taken care of the spirit, then, and you cultivated a prosperity in spirit, a richness, a wealth in spirit, you can most certainly manifest that in a material form, and it'll be something that will actually last. You won't feel like you got to hold on to every penny or be fearful of what you might lose or gain, because the spirit can never die. That spirit of prosperity is eternal. All right, so let's see what else we got, because that was a mouthful off of 3 cards, right? I know. I gotta say what I gotta say as I feel it, though. You know what I'm saying? And looky, looky, and looky, looky. Literally, looky, looky. Oh, and there's a 3rd card. What's that? Interesting. Yeah, because when you're looking outside of yourself, this is very simple. When you're looking outside of yourself, as the Page of Swords does, I've gone in about the Page of Swords before. The Page of Swords is ultimately this guy here, in the 5 of Swords, where he thinks that he's defeating what I did not say about the 5 of Swords, which if you know tarot, then you already know that the 5 of Swords, although there is a dark intention and a determination to defeat something or acquire something, or I always miss this word, to take over something, conquer something, there is ultimately the implication that that energy alone is already defeated, because in the spiritual sense it is, you know, even if at some point in time it may have some small victories or maybe even a large win, who knows, in his eyes, because he is a little bit smirky in this card, where he's observing 2 people in the background that look a bit lost. Their swords are on the ground, and he now has his sword plus 2 other swords. So it's like, that's that energy of taking from someone else and acquiring it as your own, you know. But ultimately, his hands are full, you know. You can't really do much to advance when your hands are full of swords. Ultimately, they're going to end up in your back eventually with that vibration of energy, you know what I mean? Unless you're some sort of like circus act who juggles swords. I don't know, you know. I don't know. But ultimately, one man, one sword is the most ideal. And here the Page of Swords is, who's definitely a vibration that I would consider to be less mature and advanced and intellectually. And it's not because there's not the potential to be, but it's ultimately because his attention is always diverted elsewhere. This is somebody that's looking from a distance at what everybody else is doing, but what's going on in his world. You know, he's looking at how everyone's achieving, how he's, you know, the only thing that he's caring about in regards to himself is how he compares. And that's definitely, you know, a slippery slope when you start to compare yourself with others. That's what leads to this energy in the first place of jealousy and envy, and ultimately looking to be in destruction of others. And what that affords you is to be bound by those very obsessions. You know, when you're obsessed with things outside of you, whether they be people, places, or things, because it doesn't have to be limited to, you know, anyone in particular, you know, literally anyone or anything in particular, but just being obsession leads to possession by the lowest vibration there is, and ultimately the lowest vibration of you. That's what the devil is representing here. It's not representing this guy with horns sitting around trying to, you know, trick you up. It's the lowest vibration of you that's only looking to satisfy those carnal desires, you know, that's obsessed with material wealth, that's you know, attached and perhaps codependent on things outside of self that are not sustainable. When that's the objective, that is ultimately the obstruction for self. You know, these are the chains that we bind ourselves to. You know, we break those chains by raising our perspective and ultimately our energetic force, you know, more or less goes with that, you know, to perceive things that are much more broad and expansive to energize our force than what are most sensationally gratifying, literally the things that, you know, satisfy our senses. So here we got the Page of Swords who's looking, you know, looking around, looking at what's what, looking at how he can possess something, some place, some person, perhaps even, and ultimately gets caught in his own obsession, and now he went from the Four of Pentacles in the last, the bottom of the last spread, to now the Page of Pentacles, down to a child's pose in a sense, you know, when the alternative would be to go inward, as the Hermit card encourages us to do, to really search soul, search self for the true essence of gratification. Like, usually it's not the coins, you know, even if that's the external projection. Money is not, you know, ask any millionaire or billionaire plus, it's not money that makes you happy. If anything, more money, more problems in a sense, you know, because there's even more for you to balance when you have more on the table, you know, and more people to balance, and, you know, all those things, all those cliche things that we hear, but nobody that, you know, people that don't have money don't necessarily think like that. It's like, yeah, let me find out. I'll find out on my own if it's more money, more problems, you know. And that's why it's really important for us to cultivate a spiritual satisfaction, to set our sights on something that is holistically fulfilling, because once you get into the rut of obsession with money and material gain, it takes over you. It does become a chain. You know, that's just how this realm is set up, unless you dare to be and do and have something different for yourself. So you go from a penny pinching, or at least obsessing and conserving in a sense at the Four of Pentacles, to now the Page of Pentacles, which ideally, you know, in most senses is not whole. It's not individually low vibrational, but in the essence of what we're talking here, that's a bit of a decline in material and in energy. Considering Pentacles is end time. It's not even just about money. It's about your energetic force and also your time, your attention. All of that is wrapped up in the Pentacle energy. And now you have even, not you, meaning you, but you know, I speak like that sometimes because sometimes I'm actually talking to the cards, believe it or not, as they're speaking to me. But I'm looking at this Page of Pentacles now by way of the Page of Swords, like you've paid attention to all the wrong things and now you have very little to show for it. You know, meanwhile, your spirit is still looking for you with the Hermit card. That's like ancestors, way showers, guides in the intangible realms, perhaps in the angelic realms that are you can consider are looking after us or looking to guide us through this tumultuous terrain called Earth, you know, in this world, and holding the light. Like if you look at that, inside that cage, it's like a star, you know, like that's him, you know, in that cage, but also his own self being guided to look deeper into himself and be guided by that inner light, not swayed and distracted by, you know, the external illusions that we all are susceptible to. So, you know, so there's that, but it looks like the spirit's still calling, you know. It's just, will you answer is always the question. The spirit is always calling us to higher ground, one way or another, even when we feel like we've reached our highest point, which is probably why I said what I said about the Ten of Cups, because it never stops. You know, there's always more to go, more to grow, more to see, greater to be. Bars. All right, let's see what else we got here. A few more in them. You know, I've been trying to keep them a little short lately. Well, you know, if you consider under an hour short, that's about the best as I can do right about now. That's too many. Yeah, Tower card. And that's the Tower. Sudden changes. You know, sometimes the universe has to come and move you when you don't move yourself. Like I was saying, it's always calling you higher, calling you to more, calling you to greater. And when you refuse the call, ignore it, or decide to go a different way, sometimes you bring the Tower on yourself, you know, or sometimes you fall out of alignment with divine timing, and before you know it, you find it's like you spin out of orbit in a sense, because time is moving, but you were standing still, as opposed to moving with the flow, you know. So now it feels like a jolt to the senses and literally a shaking up of your foundation, because it's like now you got to get from here to there. And some people survive the Tower and some don't. Some towers are not necessarily even a bad thing. It just is a sudden change, or you know, a new circumstance. Sometimes a shock, sometimes just, you know, a shift that you weren't necessarily prepared for. In the vibration such as this, we're talking about under the Devil card, and with the Eight of Wands here, this is a sudden change of epic proportions as far as I can see, because the Eight of Wands is like rapid movement, rapid communication, shifting, and it's from an ethereal essence, that source that can not really be stopped. You know, it's happening. It's happening naturally. It's evolving at an ethereal rate, and it's coming into the earth realm, or connecting with earthly, with an earthly essence by way of either person, place, or thing, because it's been divine to do so. You know, this is like universal ordinance. So no earthbound creature per se can put a halt to it, you know. And I feel like the Eight of Wands here is here to kind of magnify the intensity of the Tower as it is, especially connected to the Devil card. But what is it saying, Lord? Do I need to know? Do I need to say? You know, I don't feel like, it doesn't feel positive to me. I'm not going to lie. But what I will say is that if it's perceived positively, you know, then, and it's, you know, granted divinely so, it can be just a rapid, just like a very strong pressure of inspiration and guidance in another direction, is what I'll say with the Eight of Wands. It's like you will absolutely be inclined to move differently on account of whatever this experience or revelation or you know, change or shift is. Which, you know, you can see it this way, which is hard when we're in the midst of it, of course. But if you can see it that way, it's happening for you, because the universe cares enough about you, if you can survive the shift, that it's important that you be put on the right path, even in the ways that maybe perhaps you were unwilling or unable to take that path or that direction yourself. You know, you have to see it in some way that, you know, you're covered in a sense, or you know, protected even from yourself, you know, when these types of experiences occur and you actually live to tell the story. You know, sometimes you got to pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and it doesn't feel pleasant when the universe has to do something for you that you refuse to do or resisted to do. It's not usually great to the human senses, but as I said, it will put you on a different trajectory, and hopefully one that you won't resist, and therefore can ultimately, you know, expand and ascend on, you know, with this rapid changing coming in. This is energetic force. 8 wands, that's infinity. That's also what? New beginning, right? With the 8. So it's like literally change, a force that is inspiring a great change of direction. You know, it's just a matter of if you'll receive it that way, you know, which I don't know. This is 4 of Cups. You're kind of resistant, but let's see. Oh, goodness. Oh, good Lord. Oh, man. All right. So, yeah. Yeah, this is in the way of relationships too, which makes a lot of sense. It's because, you know, in the Devil card, there's a couple here that's like binded and chained together. So yeah, okay, so that makes sense. So this basically is about being aligned with the wrong energy, you know, and it could be very specifically with another person, but as I said, it could be a place, a thing, it could be an ideal, a perspective, you know, it could be tangible, it could be intangible. My thought is that I'm going to speak about it relationally, especially since we came from the 10 of Cups at the very beginning, that there was some determination for demise or to take over and conquer this ideal of partnership and happily ever after, but the idolization of it with the Devil card was distorted. You know, it was idolized for all the wrong reasons, not for the purest ones. And because that energy persisted for so long, the universe had to balance it out and say, you know, this is not going well for you or for anybody else. And when this 2 of Cups here is speaking to me about that relationship itself, you know, about it's like setting a new, it's clearing the foundation for new possibilities of partnership is what it is. Because this implies, you know, this vibration here implies a continuous cycle of karmic connection, you know, where you're bound to people, places, and things that just don't contribute or support your highest vibration or your best interest. And the universe is helping you out by clearing the board, although it may not feel good, so that there's more of a possibility to create something that's more sound and where 2 people are on the same page, something that doesn't cause heartbreak and disappointment. Whatever this was is definitely what it led to. Sleepless nights here, some anxiety about the future, depression about the past. This is about spilled milk, really thoughtful about, you know, investing the wrong energy and, you know, love and spiritual essence into experiences that didn't yield much result, you know, or at least not a substantive one, you know, something that was just poison to the spirit ultimately. And the cups are spilled, and this is the thing, he's looking back at those cups that are spilled, but there's red, you know, it could be wine, but, you know, given the essence of this reading, you're looking back at cups that are spilled that weren't good for you anyway. So it's really like, you know, as you get your foundation reset for you by the universe, will you see it as such and turn around and see that you have 2 cups that may be of a higher value to you, even if it's in the distant future, and it's a possibility, here it is, of actually acquiring that thing that you were idolizing in the first place in the wrong lens, and the way that it's intended for you to actually create it and achieve it. This is the partnership that was idolized, but in the way that it's meant to be for this individual, you know, with it destined to be for this person or this, you know, for this situation. That's the thing that we're being called to really, you know, to really pay attention to. Not, it's very dangerous to be looking around at other people's things and achievements and gifts and talents and relationships and houses and cars and situationships and kids, and you know, and remembering that we absolutely did start with the Ace of Cups. That's the ultimate cup runneth over, filled with joy, happiness, love, and you know, all the good things of life type of vibration that comes from what? From the divine. It doesn't come from any physical source or force. It's something that we call in our surrender to the spiritual self and to that spiritual calling that is naturally happening organically, to cater to that call and ultimately to be assertive toward the things that continue to nourish that vibration. We're ultimately looking to fill our own cup up so that then the spirit of the divine can match us, which is never a match. It's always more than, as you remember, the cup is overflowing, but then it can pour out on you accordingly because you've more or less presented yourself to be available and willing and able to receive it. But in this vibration here, it just, you know, that's the spirit of gratitude in a simple word that I'm speaking of, that the universe wants to match with, you know. But when you're in this vibration here, looking at everything else with envy and jealousy and not appreciating your own, that's the very opposite of such. And so the universe can't really pour into that. You know, the things that are acquired are more or less man-made or manipulated by, you know, the person that's pursuing it. But the universe can't really match up with that energy because it's like it would be wasted vitality, you know, to pour out blessings and happiness and peace and joy and the prosperity and the you know, when I was talking about a kid, you know, this legacy of love, you know, why would the universe pour that into someone that's not even happy with what they have? They won't be happy with that either, really, if it doesn't look like the next man's Ace of Cups, you know, if you're going to be in a state of comparison. So, you know, all that to say is that this is not the road that, you know, leads to that happily ever after, you know, that we started with. This is the hope and the promise of it all, but this is not the road that gets you there. So let's see one more card and let's get the hell out of here. Because I did not come here for, yeah, I mean, come on, dude. Like, what in the hell? Yeah, like, This is the 9 of Wands. My goodness, like, it's everything that I just said. Somebody looking back at the past, looking at even their past investments, you know, and this is another idolization of this, you know, this is a home, this is a family, this is a stable life, you know. But in connection to this card, this might have been the objective, but the means were not well manufactured, if you feel what I'm saying. Like the 9 of Wands is someone that's looking back at their actions and the you know, just the course of action that's been taken in some objective way with some level of disdain. There's mental instability here, energetic instability. It's just not enough presence in this energy here to truly connect with these ideals of prosperity that are coveted. That's what it is. It's like an energy of coveting some ideal presentation or experience, even, because I can't say that this individual doesn't necessarily want to truly experience these vibrations in real form, but I think it's the motive and the intention for it all that's distorted, and that's why the actions and the what do you call it, the pursuit of it all falls short, or has fallen short in some way, because it just wasn't pure. The intentions weren't pure enough to fuel the outcome, you know, to its desire, to its true desire, you know. So the Nine of Wands here is looking back and feeling like, you know, feeling a lot of regret or remorse for what you've incurred on this journey to never worry, ultimately, because you were never going to get to the fullest and the full fulfillment of this dream with the mindset that persisted. You know, this is literally about mental instability or imbalance. Like perhaps there's still some unresolved issues of the past experience that are not allowing this individual to really cultivate a productive presence, you know, one that would ultimately secure a prosperous future, and one that could be lasting and sustainable and secure in all the ways that we all desire to have. You know, there's been too much idolization of having it quickly and having a lot, you know, and having more than others even. And like I said, that comparison, that spirit of comparison, is all of that that's mixed up in what would be a very, you know, prominent idolization of life, you know, of the experience of life, if not for all of these these attachments ultimately, you know, and these illusions about it that get in the way, you know. So let me see what's on the top. Now that's the vibration that, you know, this is the ultimate, the Lover's card. If one could come to a point to choose the higher self, you'll be well on your way to this. You know, the Four of Wands implies that there has been a great challenge or a charge to get to this place of stability and security. You have to go through the spirit. You can't go around it. You can't exalt yourself above it unjustifiably. You definitely can't go below it to gain the results. You know, anything that you gain on the lower vibration, you'll lose it just as quickly as you gained it, you know, and actually end up with less than what you started with. Remember, I said he started with the Four of Pentacles and now he only has one, you know. But this is pretty much the ideal here. The Lover's card talks about choosing your higher self first. For someone that idolizes partnership in a vibration that is prosperous, and his idolization is more so prosperous in the material sense with that Four of Pentacles leading, but even to gain that aspect of partnership, which is, you know, very much so attainable, and there's nothing wrong with aspiring to it. Who doesn't want to be in a prosperous union, you know, a union that's healthy, that makes money, that, you know, that is successful, that's stable, that's secure, you know. There's nothing wrong with that, but the acquisition of that comes by way of first rendering yourself as a high vibrational match, meaning choosing to answer to your highest vibration, the best part of you, the you that would be most ideal to be if you could be so, you know, that the best part of you ultimately, that is also a deflection of the Hermit card, where you're following the guidance and the spirit that's ultimately leading you and calling you to that vibration. Because it's hard to find on your own accord when we're bombarded by projections in this realm day in and day out of who we should be, not just amongst one another when you're looking left and right, but literally princes and principalities that enforce this projection of poverty, you know, a poor in spirit type of mentality where you don't feel like you are enough. You could never have enough, and you could never do enough to have more, you know. If you follow that blueprint of prosperity, you'll almost never be in alignment for your true heart's desire. But when you surrender all of that to the aspirations of the spiritual self, you know, what makes you feel happy? What makes you feel complete? even in the simplest ways. What makes you feel proud to do? Who would you feel most proud to be? What makes you feel fulfilled in the spiritual sense to have? Not just materially. Yes, we all want to be taken care of and survive. More than survive, we want to thrive. But are you happy with yourself and the methods and means that you take to acquire that stability and that security? If you can't answer that honestly, you know, if you have trouble looking in the mirror day to day, or you have to be secretive about your methods and your means of acquiring wealth, and you know it's not something you can't share that blueprint because it's too shady to let anybody know, or the relationship that you're in, which definitely brings us back to that. I forgot that's really the vibe that we were on, the partnership aspect of it. When you're aligning with people, places, and things that are dragging you into a darker, lower vibration, you know, not pushing you to be your best and your highest, but actually the very opposite. And to the point where you have to project a completely different perspective or appearance, I should say, to the public, you know, whether it be intimately so or most public, most pronounced in the most pronounced way, like literally on a platform, or you know, in some in some, you know what I'm trying to say. Like it could be intimate in the sense of just your family and friends, where you're putting on airs, or you might even actually have a public platform or a persona where you can't even really be yourself. You know, you can't project the true essence of you because you're ashamed of it, or you're the value of, you know, the relationships that you're cultivating are not really something that you would want to be exposed. You know, there's some need for secrecy or some need to conceal the truth of your life experience. If any of that is what keeps you bound to your lowest vibration, not to the devil, you know, as we sensationalize it. The devil is only attaching to what we attach to. You know, that low, the sensationalized spirit of the devil can only attach to what we make an agreement with, literally what we make a contract with, what we bind ourselves to. So if it's appearances, if it's keeping up with the Joneses, if it's having a whole bunch of money but not feeling happy and safe with what you're doing to get it, if it's forfeiting what you know you feel called to because it doesn't make enough money or it's not glamorous enough, you know, these are all the things that we get our foot caught in chains by, and what ultimately leads to a spirit of remorse, regret, and depletion in spirit and in truth, and energetically so. You know, creativity is lost, you know, literally in the most artistic way, and even in the most material way. When you're bound by the past and obsessed with the future, you kind of lose that essence of creative force in the present, which is from whence all things are truly made, you know. So it's a tough place to be. But as I said, if you can overcome all of that, because many of us have misstepped and many of us will misstep. We're human and this is what it is. Sometimes we get caught, you know, in the distractions and illusions of the world, and thankfully the universe, the sole source of all, is here if you are so lucky and are so blessed to set your foot on the right path, you know, on the righteous path for you, not for anyone else, but your righteous path that will ultimately lead to what it is that you truly desire anyway. The spirit knows, you know, even though we get lost in the physical sense, you know, mentally and psychologically we lose our way. The spirit, the intangible force of us, that highest essence of us that is not colluded by the consumptions of the world, knows exactly what is needed, wanted, and desired. And that's why we're always being called to it. You know, we're always being called to be in our highest nature, to ultimately have that stability, that the essence of fulfillment in our life's work, in our unions, in our contracts, in our connections, where everything in life is working for us and with us and not against us. That's what we are called to be, do, and have. It's our rightful inheritance. You know, you kind of just have to be in a position to, you know, you have to present yourself to be not a benefactor, but a beneficiary that is worthy to receive it, you know, wholeheartedly in spirit and in truth. Every other way is squandering that inheritance, you know, before it even manifests. But when we answer to our spiritual selves, our highest nature, to that purest essence of us that just desires to be in peace with all, to be in love with all, to be in joy with life, literally enjoy life, that's the way to the ultimate prosperity that is eternal. All right, so yeah, take from that what you will, you know, let the story resonate as it does. Maybe it's not for you, maybe it's for someone you know, or maybe it's just a word of caution as we are all elevating to new planes of prosperity and success, that we get to continue, you know, new levels, new devils is what I hear, you know. So there's elevation happening all around, where wish fulfillments, you know, miracles are literally taking place in the realm. People are, you know, in poverty one day and prosperous the next, you know, and that is the delight of the divine, to dish that out, that Ace of Cups energy, where it's like the spirit is being poured out overall. You still have to maintain this level of responsibility and accountability for what you're receiving as the gift that it is, and continue to be the gift that you are, not just unto yourself, but, you know, unto the universe as a whole. All right, so just don't forget where you came from, even as you're moving forward, so that you, if there's anything unfavorable, you never return there again. We want to be continuously prospering in the earth as we've been called to do so. All right, so that's that. And in any event, I hope you are enjoying this lovely, lovely day. I hope it's lovely where you are, because it's gorgeous here. It's not too hot, definitely not cold. It's the perfect weather with a beautiful breeze, just how I like it. So I hope that you are experiencing some aspect of that in one way or another, energetically so, if not actually so. And until next time, I leave you in peace.